looking back at the past few years since you were elected, what are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of that you hope to continue if reelected?
Well, I think most is reducing the violent crime. We really worked hard to try to do that because the year before I took office in 2022 was the deadliest year ever in Pulaski County. There were 119 homicides in Pulaski County that year. So that was very scary coming in, and I came into an office when we had 250 open homicide cases. So I really took a strong interest in those and tried to do what we could to work on prevention and intervention and really take a hard line on some of those things and get justice for families and hope that we could get things reduced. And luckily we have. The homicide rate is 44% of what it was when I took office. So we've almost cut them in half, 50%. Now there's a lot of people that deserve credit for that, but I believe that our partnerships with law enforcement and our community service providers and the business community, all those people that we reached out to say, how can we reduce this problem, has had a great impact.
And with those relationships with the police, with the sheriff's office, how have you initiated some sort of change with them and partnership to get to this point?
Well, first, I respond personally to the homicide scenes, and so we're there with them from the time the crime happens and all throughout, and making sure that they get search warrants and all those kind of things, and they do a phenomenal job on that. But we're walking through that hand in hand to make sure that those things get through quicker, because the number one deterring factor when someone commits a crime is, am I going to get caught? Am I going to be held accountable? It's not necessarily so much how much time am I ultimately going to get, because if they never believe they're going to get caught, then they don't really consider the sentence and the ultimate outcome. So that's one of the things that we knew was important, and we worked really hard to make sure that we speed up that process, so when someone commits a crime like that we can get the process started much quicker.
How can we keep this going and continue to advance it so we can see 44% go to 64%?
Well, one thing we've done is we brought GVI here, Group Violence Intervention, and I'd encourage your listeners to look into that and study that. Pine Bluff has used it to great effect, and they focused on juvenile homicides and juvenile violence, and they went over 550 days without a juvenile homicide. And Pine Bluff it's a shining example of what can happen when a community comes together and works with law enforcement, government, police department, the spiritual community, and service providers, all on the same page, on the same mission, focused on decreasing violent crime. And we brought that here, and we're now in the assessment phase. Judge Barry Hyde and Mayor Frank Scott and Mayor Terry Hartwick in North Little Rock and Little Rock, they've all come together and put the money together. Our partnerships with them have really paid off, and we have the assessment phase coming here now, and we're bringing GVI here, and that's going to be absolutely going to help drive those numbers down.
Tulsa just got GVI, and I was astonished to know, well, I guess I knew, and just to put in perspective, I didn't realize how many kids from 12 to 17 years old are kind of spearheading some of these violent crime measures, from stealing cars to shootouts to everything. And so how can we continue to cut off that education to prison pipeline to make sure they're successful and you don't see them go through the juvenile system and eventually into your courtroom?
And that's what GVI does. It really is an intervention, and it gives them something to replace the need to carry a gun. And it gives them, we bring them in and set them down and say, look, you're on this path. Let's get you off of this path. Let's get you some job training. Let's get you education. Let's get you some services. And we have all of that together. But if you won't do that, then you're going to leave us with no choice. And we don't want to fill up more prisons. We don't want the jail to be full. We don't want people to commit more crimes. We want them to lead a better, more peaceful life. And we don't want them to have to look over their shoulder the rest of their life for someone retaliating at them. That's literally, it's about educating and getting together, and the whole community sitting down with folks that are on that path that might end up in that kind of violent crime, either as a victim or a perpetrator.
How can we continue to be in the community, whether it's police, whether it's your office, to kind of put out some of those stigmas and to understand, like, hey, we're here for you, we want to help you, we want to give you the resources, like the ones you just mentioned, so that way the first time they see you isn't because they did something bad.
To me, it's communication, and that's what we've been trying to do. We've had so many meetings with members of the community right around our table here to figure out how we're going to address the problem, and we've done a lot of that on our own, and we've been, I believe, successful in our partnerships with law enforcement and helping get that violent crime rate down. And now we have GVI, and it has a model. It's already worked. You talked about it, in Tulsa and Pine Bluff. It's had great success, and so now we have a model that we can follow to continue that progress.
What are some things that you want to still work on fixing, that you hope to in the next 4 years be able to really focus on? Because it seems like you got a good grasp on reducing violence, but what other areas do you want to focus on?
Well, crime overall, and one of the things we have coming is another exciting development. We have the Arkansas Criminal Intelligence Network, and it's a $5.5 million federal grant that we got for the first of its kind law enforcement data sharing network in Arkansas. There's not another one in the country anywhere. It's going to be run out of our office, and the entire state of Arkansas law enforcement will have a chance to share information at the touch of a button, which means crimes are solved faster. It means we're more we're smarter in our approach to who the people committing the crimes are, and it's just going to revolutionize law enforcement. So that's one thing we're really excited about, and that'll help the violent crime as well, but it'll help crime overall, because right now they're kind of silos in information. So North Little Rock Police Department may not necessarily know exactly what Little Rock Police Department is doing or anything like that, but now it's going to be a seamless integration, sharing data all across law enforcement for the whole state.
When we're talking about sharing, sorry, my gum, I should have spit that out. When we're talking about sharing data, and you have flocks, you have ring cameras, people are uneasy when we talk about data in that sense. Do you see your office kind of pursuing that with the sheriffs and police departments, where you have more of a, hey, you can register your ring cameras with us, you can do whatever? And I know we saw an AI ad during Super Bowl and people were like outraged about it, but what is your stance on protecting people's private information when it comes to that?
Well, that's always important, and here it's a voluntary deal with the Real-Time Crime Center in Little Rock, and the Real-Time Crime Center is in its infancy in North Little Rock as well. But I see, when I go to those scenes, I see firsthand in the middle of the night the homicide detectives going to some of those residences around, and you get video from with a car leaving the scene, and then you get a description of the car, and then you get a hit on flock or something like that, and just helps them to narrow down the suspects and be able to make an arrest quicker and get justice for the family.
I've never heard of a DA or PA now going in the middle of the night, no matter what time, to every homicide, to every big scene. What drives you to go out there and respond with the first responders?
Well, I handle all the first meetings of families, try when we have a family meeting here, and we talk to them about going on this journey, trying to get justice for them. And I want to look across the table at those families and let them know that I'm going to do everything I can to get justice for their children, and that our whole office is going to be behind there. And a lot of times, if I can tell them, look, I was there that night, I saw you, on the street corner, and my heart was breaking for you then, and I just want them to know that we are here for them, and we're going to do everything we can to get justice for them on this earth.
Do you think that there are any issues that you have when it comes to prosecuting, or you wish you could prosecute certain cases harder, but due to state laws or lack of state laws, is there kind of any hurdles for you wish to overcome, and hopefully next year we can try to accomplish at the session?
I don't know of any right now. We're out in the session. I'm on the legislative team for the Arkansas Prosecuting Attorneys Association. We went out to the legislature. One time we had some cases that came through where they were misdemeanor drug offenses, and someone was killed in that. Well, the way the capital murder statute read at the time is that a misdemeanor drug transaction wouldn't qualify for a capital murder. So we ended up advocating for that law to be changed. So if you kill anyone during a drug transaction, that can be a capital murder. So that's just one way that I feel like that was a loophole that we saw in a couple of cases where we weren't able to get justice for families because they kind of fell into that misdemeanor loophole because they were a small amount of drugs. And that's one way that we changed one. And as we see others arise, we'll certainly meet with our legislators and things like that, because I have a good relationship with the folks out at the Capitol, and I kind of like that lawmaking process as well.
And I notice out here, this may be more of a question for me just to know, I notice everyone out here is quick to get the capital murder charge slapped on. Why is that? That's such a big crime that's on the line for potential execution, I guess you can say. What is kind of that stance on that and how we get to capital murder? And I see so many charges, not just here in Pulaski County, Jefferson, everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, they just hand them out.
Well, the difference between capital murder and murder first is not much of a difference. I mean, it's essentially a purposeful murder is murder in the first degree, and a murder with a premeditated and deliberated purpose is capital murder. And the case law tells us that premeditation and deliberation can be formed in an instant. So most of the time, if we look at it and we feel like the law applies and that capital murder should be charged, then we charge that. Now, ultimately, cases can be resolved in different ways. They can be reduced by juries. We can have plea deals and things like that. But we feel like we need to charge what the law says we can charge with, because I don't want to be sitting across the table from a family saying, well, the law says your son was killed in a capital murder, but we only feel like we should charge murder in the first degree, So we start out there most of the time, if it fits. I mean, it's got to fit. And if it fits the law and the facts fit the law, then that's what we charge.
And do you feel like, speaking of when we transition from, you're sentenced here and now you're off, and there's been, many topics about the overcrowding in jails. Do you see from your end there being an overcrowding issue with the county jail, or just when they go off to prison?
Well, it's really overcrowding everywhere, and that's why we're trying to do so much in the area of rehabilitation and prevention, intervention and prevention, so that just less people are committing crimes. I mean, right now in Little Rock, it's 28% less crime now overall than when it was when I took office. So what that means is almost 30% less people are choosing crime as an option. So that helps the overcrowding, that helps all of that. And I hope to be in a position where the state doesn't have to talk about building more prisons. We don't want that. We want people to choose a different path.
Exactly. Maybe we can invest some of that money into those rehabilitation programs.
I think so. And so we're trying to do our part here with the resources that we have. And so far it's been working, but some of these other programs that we talked about, I think will help drive it down even more.
And one thing I was impressed about when I was reading up on you was that you came in as, was COVID over? No, middle of COVID 2022.
Right.
Whatever that foggy area was. You really helped tackle the backlog of cases. How did you do that? And, was it thorough? Because, you have to play catch up. So if you can speak to making sure everything was thorough and everyone was charged correctly, and how you were able to sort through all that.
A lot of hard work, for sure. And we have, at the time I came in, we had 52 deputy prosecutors. We got added a couple of positions, beyond that now. But we have an office of 120 people that are just working hard, and they all feel like they're a part of the same mission. And we knew that we had to reduce our caseloads, because we were having deputy prosecutors come in making, what little they were, and we're having 400 or 500 cases each, and that's too much work. So we worked really hard to have like extra plea days. We worked with our public defender's office and defense attorneys to say, hey, these are people that have been languishing in the system for a little while, and we know this is a case that we can get resolved. So let's get them in. Let's work something out and get this off. And we've been able to take about 5,000 cases off of the backlog. Another thing we did is we made our office more efficient. We went paperless. We have a paperless record keeping system now. So it allows attorneys to be able to work from home. It allows them to just carry a computer to work to the courtroom. We don't have to have all those paper files and lug those back and forth and all that. So we've become more efficient and smarter about how we handle prosecution, and it allows us to move through those more efficiently, yet still be as thorough as what we need to be.
Is there still a backlog in like rape kits or any certain cases, types of cases? Is there still a backlog of anything? Well,
our case count now is under 10,000. And when I was here as a deputy prosecutor, all the way up through the 2000s, we usually had about a 7,000 to 7,500 caseload. So we're still higher than we were, still about 3,000 cases or so more than what we had back then. But we're going to continue to whittle away at that and just do as much as we can. But we hadn't had the opportunity to take a big group off because we got that handled for a while. But now we're just trying to steadily chip away at it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and make sure everyone knows, victim families, no one's forgotten.
Exactly.
We're just getting there.
Yes, because that's the important thing. I hear people talk about all the time. Well, we'll reassess the cases and I'll look and see which ones are important. Well, they're all important. They're all important. And every victim that has a case, no matter whether it's a misdemeanor all the way up to capital murder, as you mentioned, they're all important. And we want to make sure that we're taking into account the victims when we're trying to be efficient and working through the system. We just have to balance all of those different pieces to the system.
Absolutely. And then, I have to ask, because transparency, how do you plan on, building the trust back from people who may have been thinking about you differently since, your incident that came out, how can you build that trust back and let people know I'm here for the community?
Well, that process has already started. Certainly a big part of that is campaigning, and I'm out meeting with people all the time, and what I get from most people, they understand that I'm sorry and that I'm working through it. But what I hear from them over and over is that they appreciate the job that we're doing, and they understand that I'm human and people make mistakes, and that they know the job that we're doing, and all these 120 people here in our office are doing, and we're focused on the same mission of keeping people safe.
Absolutely. Mr. Jones, anything you want to add to constituents? March 3rd's coming up. I can't believe next week is the last week of
I know. Well, I just want people to know that we're working around the clock. I'm working around the clock personally, and so many people here in the office are. There was an attorney yesterday who talked about coming here, getting to the office at 6 o'clock to work on a 14-year-old murder case for her to get justice for that family. And so that's what everybody does. And it's not like I have to walk around telling them you do this or you do that. It's just everyone is bought into the mission. And so what I want the public to know is we're all here to serve them. And if anybody doubts that or wants to feel really good about our office, come spend a day with us. And I promise you, if you walk around out here with the energy in this office and the passion for doing good for our community, you walk away knowing that this office is doing everything it can to serve our community.
Doors always open.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
What is your vision for the area?
As it relates to the prosecutor position, it's more so about being to a smart justice, and that's been what my platform is. And to kind of tell you what smart justice is, it's kind of being different from what we've seen in our normal criminal justice system. We kind of have a system where the only thing we do is prosecute, and that's the job. But I kind of look at crime like in two different ways, and I think that we have to be very aggressive when it comes down to violent crime. I hate gun violence. I believe people that are committing those type of crime that's harming children, that's harming elders, we have to focus and get those people off the streets immediately. But I don't believe now, as the world has evolved, that we can only do that, and we shouldn't want to only do that. So there's a second part of it, and that's the smart part that comes in, which is looking at, well, what are the root causes of crime? And so we kind of see crime come out of three areas. That's going to be poverty, mental health, and addiction. And so we as prosecutors have an ability to look at those areas and to give back and invest in that as well, so that we're not also just clogging our system up with incarceration. And so Arkansas is number 3 in incarceration rates, and I believe that we could do better at giving back. And so after spending time doing a whole lot of different things in criminal justice, I kind of see that we kind of need to go a different direction, and that's where smart justice comes from.
With your Smart Justice Initiative, it sounds like to me that your background in police work and the community policing, is that kind of the idea behind it, of getting in the community and seeing them before they come in front of a judge?
Absolutely. We want to catch it. Everybody wants a safe neighborhood, and I say this all the time. Everybody wants a safe neighborhood, no matter where you live, and everybody deserves to have a safe neighborhood. And so, and one of my pillars on it is community collaboration. We got to work with law enforcement, especially. They're the first line offender, so we got to work with law enforcement. But there's so many other community events. Even our police departments have created programs. Little Rock's created Saving Our Sons program. Pulaski County have created the OK program. These are programs that's grabbing the people that are likely to be in trouble or have been in trouble, and it's trying to mentor them so that when they turn 18, they're not committing the crimes that we're seeing now. And what we're seeing right now is so many young men lose their life or be the one that's doing something that their life is being taken by the system, and that breaks my heart. And so I want to be able to give back in that.
When I was doing my research on you, I was watching the video on your campaign page, and you mentioned that, you see things from all sorts of angles, from your background, your upbringing, and so more than, anyone, that education to prison pipeline.
Absolutely.
And with your community justice initiative, how can we intervene and make sure we have the right programs in place to make sure families feel supported and children feel heard, and they don't have the stigma of, police and court?
Yeah, I think a lot of different things go to that, but I believe that we essentially have to look at the stats, and we kind of got to know, where's the crime coming from? And if we're being honest, what we see right now is a lot of crime happening in the African American communities. To take that a step further, we also see a lot of crime happening with men who don't have father figures. And I was someone who grew up without a father figure. And so I have that experience. And so if we know that these are the people that's likely to get into the system, if we know small stats such as it's a correlation with truancy. People that start off being truant, they get into a cycle, and we'll see them in the system later on. If we know these things, then we got to focus very early at paying attention. If we know that young men without fathers is going to be a problem, then we need to partner with schools. We need to look at, okay, how do we already invest in them? If we know that truancy is going to lead people to committing crime, then we got to take truancy court a little bit more serious instead of this little slap on the wrist or, hey, get back in school. We got to actually look at those. And if we do that, I think we can save so many lives. Not just people going to prison, but I want to save lives of people that are losing their lives. You don't get a restart on life. And a lot of young men are not valuing life the same anymore. And I think that they need mentors, and they need to see somebody who resonates with them. And that's what's so different about this race. I can resonate with these young men so that they see a different angle and see something more in themselves than just the streets.
Absolutely, because since I've been here, I've been doing a lot of work on Little Rock Public Schools, right? And it's not just Little Rock that's in Pulaski County, right?
Pulaski and Perry County.
Exactly. So it's not just them, but use them as an example. They're going through a lot of changes right now, and they are seeing a lot of the issues is because kids don't know how to read by third grade.
Yep.
And that's where that pipeline starts.
Absolutely.
And so how can we make sure that kids are showing up? You said go harder on truancy court, but how do you plan on supporting? Do you have any ideas in motion in your head? I know not to, spill all the beans, let everyone know all your cards, right? But do you have any plans in place to make sure that we can cut off some of that truancy and make sure, you're working with the school district and, the police, the SROs to make sure we save our young people?
So, I think what we first have to start at is once we identify those people, then we need to come up with programs. And so thinking of school and truancy. But a lot of times, if you look again, that's coming from a single parent household. I've had an opportunity on this race to talk to some of the judges who do truancy court, and they let me know that when they see that person come in to the truancy court, they're typically occupied by a single mom or even a grandma. And so we then need to be talking with them. How can we help support you? I remember growing up, my mom worked daytime and nighttime. So I had the ability to be truant. Luckily I wasn't, but I had the ability to be truant. My mom needed support. We didn't have a father figure in the home. I had 3 other sisters. So these families need support. So we got to get in and start getting in the community that we serve and ask them, hey, what do you need that's going to help support? But then, again, with the young men, we have to motivate them. What I found out is that, and you mentioned low reading scores, if you are not good in school, you're going to skip school. Because you're going to be embarrassed. You're going to get bullied. No matter how tough you are, you don't want to be called out or see an F or a D on your report card or on a paper. So it makes you want to get out of school. So a lot of my friends growing up, they wouldn't go to school because they were having low reading scores or low math scores. So we have to make them feel better about those scores, identify it, support them with the schools. And, kind of some of that stuff is outside of the prosecutor's office. Our job is to prosecute what comes in front of us. But it doesn't stop us from being community partners, from being in schools, talking with them, partnering with the city as well, because the city has funds for these type of things. So it's, again, this holistic approach to crime. It's not going to just happen in the prosecutor's office. It ain't going to just happen with principals putting in programs. We have to all get together and work together as a community.
Absolutely, and those ideas got to keep turning because things keep changing. And you mentioned a lot of cases also deal with addiction.
Yep.
What resources do you think that we need to put in place to prevent them from being repeat offenders or being seen in front of you?
Addiction is going to be something that we're going to struggle with until the end of the world because drugs are out there. But what we do have to recognize is that we can't be overly tough on people who addict. Addiction is a real thing. When you are addicted, I've sat with these people, I've seen it, I've grew up with it. It is hard to overcome that. So we may have to take a different approach. Sometimes we see where we just put people on probation over and over and over again. And then by the 6th time they catch a charge, we say, well, now it's Arkansas Department of Corrections. We still never addressed the problem. So kind of an approach that I would like to take, and I've been around talking to these facilities, is people have to you're not going to break an addiction with outpatient rehab where you go in and go to a class and then go right back out to the same environment. So we're going to have to remove you from your environment, and we're going to have to get you into inpatient rehab so that you can get away. And not only when you catch it, people say when you're an addict, you're going to be an addict forever. You have to, again, go back to support so they're not going back to their same environment. If I am alerted by, I'm going to use candy. If I'm addicted to a lollipop, I can't go to candy stores no more. Even if I've now beat the addiction, I'm 6 months, a year clean, one slip up in the candy store could make me get back in eating that lollipop again. It's the same with drugs. So we have to, again, support. First, be very aggressive on like, hey, we're going to give you a chance, but it ain't going to be how you want it, where we're just in probation. I'm very serious about certain things. I want to help you, but you're going to get it the way that, the right way, which is you're going to have to go in here and fight. You're going to have to get in this inpatient rehab. That may be 6 months, that may be a year, but you're going to have to spend that time. And again, we have to support them in that because we have to help make sure that they got Medicaid, have the insurance so that can be paid for, even though there are also a lot of free programs out there. We're going to get you there, we're going to help you, but then also there's so many other reentry programs. Little Rock Reentry Program is amazing. Then let's get you with Shanika Jones at the Little Rock Reentry Program, who can then help you get a job. Those are the things when you start putting in place, you get away from your environment, you will absolutely see the addiction rates go down.
And the biggest drug on the streets is fentanyl right now. How do you plan on having your office tackle that? Because that's a conversation across the country, across the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, crime is two parts. So fentanyl dealers, we got to take that very serious. If fentanyl that's coming into our county or both counties and Perry County, they have a huge meth issue. When I talk to the voters out there, they say they don't like meth on their streets. We have to have drug task forces of tackling those. But then we also, as we've talked about, we have the addiction part, so we have to support that. But I think we have a good drug task force in Pulaski County. I look forward to working and supporting them more so that we can remove as much drugs as we can out the streets while also supporting those who are addicted.
Absolutely. And what do you think that the county's PA needs right now? What do you think they're missing that you hope to fill?
I think leadership. And leadership looks different. You got to have somebody that's going to be in there that includes everybody. The leadership table has to be diverse. It has to be with hard trial attorneys who know how to try a case when it's time. It has to be a leader that's accountable, a leader that pays attention to training, and a leader that people can trust. What we see currently in the prosecutor's office is a lack of leadership or poor leadership. Over 60 prosecutors have left the office since the incumbent has been in. 200 years of just senior experience left underneath that. And when we see that happen, when you see prosecutors walk out the door, when you see years of trial experience walk out the door, that is hurting victims' family. And my family is a victim of crime. That is hurting families because now you're losing on cases. You're losing experience. You have a lot of inexperienced trial lawyers who need training. And so when you lose staff like we've seen, it's a revolving door. It is making the office suffer on so many ways because now we have a backlog of cases and now we don't have the experience that's needed to actually try the cases that need to be tried.
And speaking of backlog, that was my next question. I just talked to Will Jones. Mm-hmm. He said that, they caught up a lot from, COVID eras, but there's still a lot of backlog. I think he said 3,000 cases. So we're 3,000 higher than where we're supposed to be. How do you plan on tackling that? Yeah, I think the first thing that I want to do when I get in is we got to look at the cases that's in the office. If we look at the stats, you will see that underneath the current administration, the amount of cases that are charged but later what's called non-pros dismissed is very high. What that tells me is that means people are being overly charged early, or they didn't even have sufficient enough evidence to charge them in the first place. So what I want to do is get in and let's make sure that the cases that we have in the office are quality cases that meet the elements of the law, and when they do, we will then expedite and handle those cases. But I can assure you there's probably several cases based on, again, just the stats and what I see day to day that don't deserve to be in the office, that do not meet the elements of the law to be in office. And so I believe if we focus on that, we will see a decrease in the backlog as well. And not one case is more important than the other. It's just
of course
going
not.
Through it all.
It's making sure that they meet the elements of the law, that we can prove the case. If we can't prove the case, if we don't have the elements, we can't overcharge. We have to charge what we have, and then we have to prosecute that.
And then when we're talking about transparency, we have to be transparent.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
would you say to constituents who are hesitant by what the Dem posted about you not being in the Little Rock area, being in Sherwood, and a tweet or a post from 2022?
Yeah, I can address the post first, which was from 2022. Again, when you're a defense attorney, you kind of got what's called dark humor, and I think both sides is dark humor. My family is law enforcement. I was prior law enforcement, no matter how what happened. My sister, who was murdered, was prior law enforcement. My uncles, I'm a supporter of law enforcement. Some of my best friends are law enforcement. I'm supportive of law enforcement. It was a post that at the time, when you look at it, it is made to be funny, and if you look at all my posts around that time, it was posts that made people hire you. It could be a picture of a young lady acting like she's finna hit somebody, and I would say, if you got to beat up your boyfriend, call me.
Taken out of context.
Taken out of context, and that's what happened in politics. So it was taken out of context, and they're using that to create that fear of that I don't support law enforcement. That's nowhere near. I support law enforcement. I recently was several endorsers from law enforcement, including the Black Police Officer Association of Little Rock endorsed me. If they thought that I was against police officers, I can assure you they wouldn't be endorsing me.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
Yeah, so the other one, the residency. Well, first and foremost, Pulaski County is the entire county, Pulaski and Perry County, so I can live with anywhere. But I have always remained and have double residency. I have a house in Little Rock, and I have residency in Sherwood as well. I followed the rules, I applied, I met the requirements, and I still maintain that. Both of my businesses are in Little Rock. So again, that is a mischaracterization of what the address really is. Again, just politics that happened. So it's again not true.
Again, taken out of context.
Correct.
But so now the big question: who is Bobby Forrest Jr.? The hardest question on the resume and in the interview process, right?
A regular guy. A regular old guy who just have lived life experiences that God has traveled me through that makes me prepared to stand here as the next leader of the prosecutor office. I grew up to a single mom in Jacksonville, Arkansas, 3 sisters. My mom is great, but we grew up, not privileged. We grew up, my mom didn't even know how to drive. So there's a grocery store, we lived in the projects, there's a grocery store like 2 miles up the road. It's me. I'm walking with my mom carrying all those groceries. She wouldn't make my sisters carry them, but I'm walking. I did. So carrying $230 worth of groceries. That's how I grew up in those environments. My mom's such a caring woman. We grew up with a lady who had a horrible drug problem. She would leave her door open, and her kids would just walk out, and my mom would take the kids in. That's the type of homes I come from, which is why I care about criminal justice. My father incarcerated my entire life. Again, those are the people that you're going to see in the criminal justice system. That's who I am at core. And when you grow up in those environments, we talk about poverty as one of the causes of crime. I myself got in trouble as a juvenile and went through the juvenile justice system. But I believe in second chances, and my second chance allowed me to go to the military, become a military police officer. It allowed me to recruit young men to go to the military. It allowed me to become a police officer, a detective, now a criminal defense lawyer. I teach criminal justice classes. I own a restaurant downtown where I allow, again, we're talking about reentry and being in the community. I allow the Little Rock Reentry Program to send people who are just getting out of prison to work. And they're some of the hardest workers, by the way. I am a regular guy who believes in safety for everyone, who believes that every case is different, and some people absolutely will be held accountable. Violent offenders are going to be held accountable. I hate gun crime. I want to be very serious about that. My sister was murdered in 2023, a police officer, shot over 30 times, and we still don't know. I don't ever want a family to experience that. But what a family needs, if it does happen, they need to know they have a leader in the office that's going to care about that family, that's going to make sure that justice is served, and I'm going to be that. But I'm also going to be someone that if I can help your young son, your young daughter, or people who have issues stay out of the system, I'm going to fight to keep them out the system as well.
Over 20 times?
30.
Oh my God.
Left behind 3 kids.
Ooh, okay. To go to juvenile justice, to kind of backtrack, as you mentioned that. And I've learned, sorry, trying to regain my composure.
I know.
I've been reading up and hearing that there is a problem with our juvenile justice system. They treat the kids as if they're in Pulaski County Detention Facility, or they just had a big meeting about it a week or 2 ago. How do you plan on having all hands on deck and kind of fixing the juvenile justice system here? I
think the first, as it relates to the prosecutors, because again it's different jobs, is the first thing I would like to do is I want the prosecutors that's in the juvenile division to actually want to deal with juveniles. Not everybody wants to do juvenile law. And currently under the current administration, the people who do juvenile law, it's you go to that court because you're brand new out of law school. So it's like a training ground. This is the most serious ground. These are the people that's young and it's our future. So we got to have prosecutors that actually want to be in that division. But once we deal with that part of it, we then have to, it's all about community collaboration. We have very good judiciary judges that's in that division that want to help the kids. We cannot be a playground. We have to be very serious early. We have to pay attention to those small things, such as minor in possession of firearm. Young kids carrying a gun is a correlation that they will be some of the ones committing capital murder. We got to early intervene with gun prevention and quickly showing them that we are not going to play. Again, it's not. I'm nice, but I want to be hard on them. It's tough love, so that I can hope to save their life in the future. So we got to do programs like that. We have to pay attention. We have to get more partnerships. There's so many different programs that are good, but they may only take 20 kids. And so then now all the other kids don't have a place to go. We got to open this up bigger. We got to get people more concerned. You have to use the power of your office and go to legislation and advocate for more funds. You have to go to the cities and go to their board meetings and advocate for more funds. You have to go to the county, advocate for more funds so that we can open this up and really focus on our juvenile justice. That is 1,000% a goal of mine because my life was changed in juvenile justice, and I believe their life can be changed.
Absolutely. Is there anything else constituents need to know before, gosh, we're 12 days out?
12 days out. Here's what I would say. If you want somebody that's going to hold people accountable, no matter down to the janitor, down to the elected official, I'm your guy. If you want someone that's going to steward the taxpayer dollars correctly and use them for programs to help detour crime and prevent crime, I'm your guy. If you want someone who has seen it from all sides, being a person who have watched and I remember the night the cops came to my mom's house and gave us that notice, who have seen that side, but who also is a trial lawyer who knows how to try a case so that convictions are secured. I'm your guy. If you want someone that's integrity, someone that is going to care, someone that you can resonate with, I am that guy. And so vote for me. 12 days left.